The minions are the ultimate predator. Yes, really. The minions have come face to face with their fair share of danger, from dinosaurs to vampires to supervillains and now monsters. But they never had anything to worry about because they're not locked in there with the monsters. The monsters are locked in there with the minions. Hello Internet, welcome to Film Theory, the show that's going to steal the subscribe button. So it's that time again, friends. It's been a couple years, so like clockwork, they must release another Minions movie with minions and monsters. It looks like they summon horrors beyond comprehension in this one. And I mean, I get it. These little yellow jelly beans that make funny sounds and say banana have become such a staple of pop culture that I'd keep making movies too. They're all over memes. We got people doing their funny voices on social media.
Hello? Me want banana?
They're even in the opening titles of the Mario movies. You can't escape them. Now, if somehow you've managed to completely miss the minions, how? Genuinely how? Well, these little dudes are more than just little emojis used in your grandma's posts on Facebook. The minions want nothing more than
to serve the most despicable master they could find.
And we've seen throughout the series that this leads them to serving everything from a T-Rex to Count Dracula to the villainous Gru from the Despicable Me series. Well, at least until Gru gets a hero arc and turns into a good guy, but that's neither here nor there. Now, you might look at this and think, hey, that's a fun premise for a series of kids movies, and it is. But you might also be thinking that these evil little Tic Tacs don't sound like that much of a threat. But my friends, that couldn't be further from the truth. Now, we've made a lot of claims about the minions here at Theoristink over the years. They're immortal, they're super intelligent, they might not even be minions. And while we've joked that sooner or later they're going to take over the world, today, I want to talk about how they have a lot going for them in their plans for world domination. See, after really digging into it, the minions shouldn't be worried about any of these new monsters they're facing. No, instead, the monsters are the ones who should be terrified. Why? Well, the minions are perfectly evolved not only to survive any threat, but to destroy them. The minions are the ultimate predators on planet Earth and nothing can stop them. So put on your goggles and smash that banana, loyal theorists. We're going in. Okay, so to start out here, we've already touched on the minions and their main purpose being to seek out the most despicable master they can serve. It's like what they evolved to do, and that has seemingly helped them survive for a long time. It makes sense on paper, like go cozy up to the biggest threat to keep you safe. But that then begs the question, how would one evolve like this? In recent years, it was probably pretty easy. I mean, just go turn on the news. In the films, we see the minions literally go to Villain Con, and when Scarlet Overkill says,
have any of you ever dreamt of working for the greatest supervillain of all time?
The minions cheer. They serve villains because they are the most evil. But how would they have known who was the most evil before those sorts of conventions? That would come from an instinct most creatures have called fight or flight. You've probably heard that term before, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Over the generations, animals have learned to survive slowly over time by building features that either help them avoid danger or tackle danger head on. So, fight or flight. Stuff like being able to run fast or camouflage into your environment are some ways that this develops. But it can also lead to other things like heightened senses, being able to hear danger from a distance or smell their BO or whatever. So the minions are likely able to use those traits to figure out what's the most dangerous and then head towards it. And on top of all of that, us humans have an even stronger tool, our brains. Along with our senses, our brains are complex enough to work out something called pattern recognition. You might have heard that phrase before, but it's a legit scientific concept. It's a pretty simple idea. If you hear the roar of a lion and then a lion appears, your brain is going to be able to predict that the next time you hear a lion roar, there's likely one nearby. Even in modern times, we've adapted this skill. Have you ever met someone that you just got a bad vibe from? That might have been your pattern recognition coming into play. You can sense that something is off or that there's a threat before it happens. And your brain can do this subconsciously, putting together patterns we might not even realize are there. So again, the minions can use that exact same skill set to seek out the most dangerous patterns and approach them instead of running away. That pattern recognition also lets us realize when something feels off or wrong about us internally, though it can be difficult to figure out what to do after you discover the problem. But thankfully, that's where the sponsor for today's theory, Zoc ZocDoc comes in handy. So this is a true story, but I had my last pair of glasses for like 8 years. I got them, and then by the time I probably needed a new pair, 2020 was happening, so I just put it off. And then one thing led to another, and all of a sudden it was 2026, and I'm squinting to read street signs while I drive. Got me out here looking like a suspicious minion, dude. It finally got to the point where I had to get a new pair, but that was gonna be such a giant pain. I'd moved twice since the last time I'd gotten an exam, but thankfully that's where ZocDoc made things super easy. If you don't know, ZocDoc is a free website that helps you search for doctors tailored to your needs. To be clear, they don't give you the care. They just connect you with in-network doctors, professionals, and specialists who can give you that care. You can easily book appointments with more than 150,000 providers, covering everything from dental health, eye care, skin care, mental health, and even getting your PCP. So for me, I just looked for an optometrist and bam, I found one who was literally down the street who got me taken care of. I can see again! Seriously, ZocDoc is also super easy to use. You can filter by who accepts your insurance, how close they are, and by ratings from other patients. No need to go get your minions to go do all that heavy lifting for you because it's so simple. You can book everything online instead of talking on the phone, you can see actual appointment times on the website, and choose when to click and book your visit. And the appointments can happen super fast, sometimes within just like a few days. My appointment for my doctor was legit like a day after I booked it. So if you want to stop putting off appointments and get real care from professionals, go to ZocDoc.com/thefilmtheorists, click my link in the description, or scan the QR code on screen to find a top-rated doctor today. Thanks again to ZocDoc for sponsoring this theory. And with that, let's take a look back at the minions. So that might explain how they find the most despicable things out there, but why don't they just off the minions? I mean, other than the obvious fact that the minions can't die like we've previously talked about. Why doesn't the T-Rex or Dracula or whatever just get rid of them if they're truly so despicable? Well, that all comes down to a trait that the minions have. One they evolved to make sure they survived against scary monsters throughout all of history. And it's also why they became so wildly popular here in the real world. And what is that trait? They're just so gosh darn freaking cute. I mean, come on, little yellow dudes who are basically living, breathing emojis. They have big, expressive eyes and comical mouths and small strands of hair on their heads. These dudes were like made in a lab to appeal to humans. But that is just humans. What about the other creatures, like the T-Rex? How did they get a dino to let them onto their team? Well, in that case, it's not that they're cute, but that they're not threatening. That T-Rex is gonna look at these guys and think, okay, anyway, just based on appearances, they're probably not gonna be attacking or hurting the T-Rex, so he let them tag along. And I mean, there would be a lot of advantages for the predators like the T-Rex here. I mean, we've talked about how the minions can't die in previous theories, so having them join in as evil little henchmen? What could possibly go wrong? But you also have to take a step back and think about something else here too. In the real world, you don't just end up as a cute little bee-man. Nature spends a long time making animals look like they do through evolution. Now, there are a couple of ways that the minions could have ended up looking like this. One way is through what we've called domestication, which we've talked about in our previous Mario theory. Here, a species will evolve to look more cute, so they're more favored by humans. But another reason the minions could have evolved to look more human-like, to speak, but not clearly, and have teeth and hands and wear clothes, almost like a human, but not quite. They may be trying to deceive us, triggering something called the uncanny valley. Have you ever looked at a drawing or a robot with a face mask or something designed to look human, but something about it just felt off? It wasn't quite right and it creeped you out? That is an emotional response we call the uncanny valley, and that actually happens because of our survival instincts. It's our body and brain telling us that something about this is trying to fool us or to make us put our guard down. A lot of people online have suggested recently that because we evolved to be creeped out by the uncanny valley, that means that there was some weird monster in history that was trying to mimic humans. And while that is a fun, spooky idea, scientists believe that the real reason goes back to something a lot less scary. Back in caveman times, there were multiple different types of people, different subspecies. You know how we're Homo sapiens? Well, there were a lot of other groups like Neanderthals or Homo erectus, species that looked almost entirely human but weren't quite there. Thus, the uncanny valley. But wait, wouldn't that then mean that the minions being so human-like mean that we should see them as a threat? Well, not quite, because the minions evolved to keep themselves from looking too human. Instead, there's something much different. They're shorter, they're a different color, they're cute. They evolved to avoid the uncanny valley, and that's terrifying. Bottom line, the minions have evolved in ways similar to humans, but they've used their skills like pattern recognition to find the most despicable creature out there. Not so they can run away from those creatures, but seemingly instead so they can serve alongside them. By remaining cute and unthreatening, those evil masters saw no need to, well, dispose of the Tic Tacs and instead took them on as minions. So cool, but how does any of that help us prove that they're the ultimate predators? Everything we've talked about seems like it's useful to survive, yes, but not necessarily to hunt. So what's going on? Well, not so fast there, friendo. While yes, these are survival instincts, many of them are also killer instincts. And when you dig just a little bit deeper, you can see how the minions have used them to become apex predators. Consider this. Each of the masters that the minions serve end up being undone by their adorable little hands. From what we see in the series, it seems like this is done completely by accident. I mean, they're just clumsy little guys who accidentally point a cannon at Napoleon or open the curtain for sunlight to destroy Dracula. Yeah, no. I am not buying it. These are calculated tactics. The minions aren't looking for masters to serve. They're predators hunting down every threat they can find in the food chain, removing them one by one until they're at the top. And when you look at what features they have in common with predators, you'll see that the minions absolutely deserve to be at the top of that category too. A big one staring you straight in the face? Literally, front-facing eyes. See, most predators have eyes that point towards the front of their face, because it lets them detect prey and attack more precisely. Think about it. Lions, crocodiles, eagles, even us humans, all of us have front-facing eyes because we're hunters. But if you look at deer, squirrels, doves, turtles, their eyes face outwards so they can spot predators more easily. They can look at a lot more all at once. Now, take a look at the minions. Their eyes are front-facing, just like a predator. The only real snag here is that some of them only have one eye, which could hurt depth perception or knowing how far away their prey is. But even then, despite some of them only having one eye, many others are gonna have two, and by sticking together, the minions would be killer. And actually, sticking together in a massive group like this is another tactic many predators have evolved to make sure that they can hunt. Animals like wolves, hyenas, and orcas all hunt in packs so they can overwhelm their prey. They can more easily split up a herd and take out weaker links, communicating and organizing themselves to secure a win. That is exactly the same as the minions. I mean, they take out the T-Rex because of the sheer number of minions that start the chain reaction to knock the T-Rex off balance. Likewise, in Despicable Me 3, the minions plan a prison break by coordinating and working together as a group to build a ship. They have pack tactics. And one of the other most important features a predator needs are tools for capture. Basically, that's something that increases their success in a hunt. Think stuff like claws, talons, fangs, or beaks. Those are the actual tools that they need to capture their prey and keep them from escaping. And hey, wouldn't you know it, minions, just like humans, have really nice fingers that will help with that immensely. But stuff like that isn't all tools for capture can mean. Like, if an animal has the ability to use other objects to capture prey, that will also count for tools for capture. That's actually how us humans became some of the most deadly predators on the planet. We might not have fierce claws or talons, but early humans could take down woolly mammoths because they could make weapons. And to this day, our brains let us catch prey in wildly different ways. And that, my friends, is a skill shared by the minions. No, they don't have sharp beaks or deadly teeth, but they do have hands and they put them to use. Not only do we see them make gadgets to capture their prey, like a motorcycle to chase down an ice cream truck, but they also use their tools to ensure the demise of their masters. They gave the caveman a spatula, meaning that he was beaten by a bear. And I joked about this earlier, but they literally fired a cannon to wipe Napoleon off the face of the planet. The point here is that because the minions have opposable thumbs like us humans do, they can create and use tools to catch their prey. These examples show us that the minions are in fact predators. Illumination can't fool me. What they've made to look like cute, adorable, haphazard murderers of evil masters are actually calculated and precise killers. They seek out the most dangerous prey of each era, and by looking harmless and innocent, no one understands exactly exactly what they're capable of. They are the apex predators at the top of the food chain, and I'm not just saying that. They tick all the boxes. Apex predators have no natural predators of their own, just like the minions. They hunt multiple different prey with what scientists call high efficiency of capture, which just basically means that they're really good at it. Normally, it's stuff like zebra, or water buffalo, or gazelle, like what lions would hunt. But for the minions, it's dinosaurs, cavemen, vampires, and even short-statured military leaders. And the minions even confirm the kill on each of these masters before moving on to the next one. In every way, the minions might be the most dangerous creatures on the planet, and the worst part, they're basically invulnerable. You can't even kill these guys. So thank goodness they decided to hunt the bad guys, because if they wanted to, humanity could be their next prey. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next on Film Theory, Gru and the minions would have destroyed the world.